usual. Anyway, good morning. Welcome back. We are on the latest episode of the Goose podcast. I'm going to say it's probably going to be the greatest of the year because we have got two wonderful people from Ireland's leading technology event in Dublin Tech Summit. I've got Clare and Siobhan with me here today. So guys, if you want to introduce yourself, explain who you are, what you do, and why we're here today, I suppose. Who wants to start? Clare?
Yeah. Hi, it's great to be here. Thanks for having us on. I am the COO of Dublin Tech Summit. So I look after all the background logistics and operations across the event.
Hard job. Siobhan?
Hi, I'm Siobhan Human, and I head up the programming and the marketing for Dublin Tech Summit. So I'm the one playing Jenga and all these big jigsaw puzzles in the back end, trying to figure out how to work the agenda and where to put all of these amazing speakers that we have on our lineup.
Yeah, marketing for tech events, it's fun. It's not hard work at all. Or so people would have you believe.
Yeah, Claire and I actually we kind of share the load on that because there's just so many different elements around it, and also obviously with AI and what's happening lately, just in terms of how that's getting incorporated into a number of different marketing elements. It's really interesting to see what comes out of that. In terms of measurables and KPIs that you can now do.
Yeah, it's mental. I think, John, I've said this like about 100 times recently. I'm going to need to get one of these buzzword bingo boards for going to tech events to see it, like words like AI, crypto, and see how many of these actually start coming out. Because AI does seem to be the kind of, buzzword of the scene at the moment. Yeah. And rightly so. And I think it's misunderstood of, tool over replacement and stuff. But we'll get onto that in a few minutes. So I suppose the most logical place to start is, where did Dublin Tech Summit start? How did an event like this, where we're getting nearly 10,000 people into the RDS, how did it come about, and how did we get here?
Yeah, so I think there was a big tech event in Dublin.
I don't think we've heard of
it. And it emigrated. And so there was a gap in the market, I think, for an event like with Dublin and Ireland as such a big tech hub and home to so many of the big companies and a thriving startup ecosystem that, there was a place for a tech event. And so that's where we came about in 2017. And so it's grown ever since. So it was initially in the conference centre in Dublin. I think early events were about 2,500, 3,000 people and smaller number of exhibitors. And now, we've grown up to the kind of 10,000 mark. So we moved house to the RDS just to for more space. We've about 250 speakers now across the 2 days, 4 stages, plus podcast area and workshops. And we have a number of side events running as well outside the main agenda. And I think there's 80 plus big exhibitors and about 60 to 70 startup stands as well. We're also now home to the Irish semi-final of the Startup World Cup, which we did the first one last year, so that was great. So the finalists went off to America to be in the final for winning $1 million investment. So it's a nice competition to host here. So that's kind of where we're at now.
Honestly, the growth over the last 7-8 years has been nuts. I remember being there at the very first event in 2017 in the conference center. And it's one of these ones where the Dublin Tech Summit has actually become very important to us in Goosed, because it's become our annual staff meetup, because we're all remote. And the beautiful thing about technology is I don't have to see Martin for 8 to 9 months of the year. So we use this event and go, right, Martin, Alex, myself, Dean, all 4 of us, can we finally meet up, go talk, sit down, go see some mad things that are happening, and of course go for a couple of pints afterwards, because it's essentially our version of a Christmas party in the middle of summer. But it's one of those things that it's become this hub for Irish technology, to make sure that you're there to be, to see what everybody else is doing. And just I found it fascinating last year, obviously having been to the first event in the conference center to the one in the RDS, where you had that whole back room open to startups. You had the stage where the Startup World Cup was going on. It was I had a little proud moment because obviously DC was on our podcast last year and he was hosting part of the stage. You had two of the guys that were on the podcast from the startups on the stage. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing to see. And then the event space out the front row, the companies are actually showcasing. And that's before we get into the content and the speakers and the learnings and the networking. It's always, for me, the networking is the biggest part of it. And I think it's the part that people underappreciate the most. But you have to put together, like, I wouldn't want to do your jobs. You're trying to put together, curate amazing speakers, content, stuff that gets people energy alert, alive, and learning things, so that when the networking does happen, we have some really cool stuff to talk about. Where I'd like to go with that question is, how the hell do you figure it all out?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of work obviously goes into the content, and also, like you said, the curation of the overall program to facilitate networking. I think that's one of the nice things about Dublin Tech Summit, and you can feel it on the floor when you're walking around, is the buzz of people networking and chatting. And like Dublin Tech Summit is at a lovely size where it still has that kind of boutique and intimate feel, yet it's on a big scale as well.
Yeah.
So like you can just bump into somebody and start chatting when you're getting a coffee, and you're not, I suppose, in a cattle market being herded around with tens and tens of thousands of other people. So we do, with looking at the program, curate those networking times within the program, and look at those as part of the overall content planning as well. And then with the actual content planning, I suppose Siobhan would prepare the themes and everything, and I'll let her go on and talk to you about how the themes have evolved. I think, like, because we've done quite a big change in programming this year and programming strategy and where that was going. And so last year we did a huge list of themes, I think, running through. And this year we've tried to consolidate things a bit more, because some of the feedback we got last year was there was too much content. So we do take that feedback on board when planning into the next year. So I'll let Siobhan tell you all about her exciting program themes for this year.
Yes, please. I'd love to hear about, like, I suppose, you've different stages, we have different themes, we have different speakers. Yeah, hit me.
Well, let me kick off on maybe just the themes and what to expect this year, because like Claire said, we basically think of us sitting in a dark room together and strategizing as to what we're going to do and what we're going to make different this year. And you know, a hell of a lot of research goes into this, and obviously you're looking at what's coming up. You're trying to preempt and forecast what's going to happen, and looking at what the various competitors are doing. But for 2025, really what I wanted to focus on in terms of themes was more of disruption meeting responsibility.
Yes.
So I structured the content across 6 main tracks or themes: Enterprise Reimagined, Your Work, Your World, Your Future, Disruptive Frontiers, Hustle and Thrive, and the Next Threat Wave. But what ties all of these themes together is our central mission: connecting innovators who are actually transforming tomorrow. So they're not just talking about it, they're actually doing it. And I think for me, and a lot of people would probably agree with this, is the days of surface level tech conversations are behind us. We're tackling AI beyond the hype. We're exploring what quantum computing actually means for businesses now, while addressing how emerging technologies are reshaping what it means to actually be a human. So each theme that I worked on, in my mind, provides these fundamental reconsiderations of not only how a business should operate, but how you should operate, and even how a society should function. So the approach is quite different this year, but I think what we're really taking on is we're embracing this friction that I'm hoping what is going to come out of it is valuable insights, and insights from different perspectives that you don't generally see across other events.
I really like that, because I've been to oh Jesus, we're doing Goose 10 years now. I've lost track of the amount of events I've gone to, and the amount of talks that you go to where you sit down and it becomes a glorified sales pitch of, we do this. It's like, oh, fuck me. What's the point in this now? You're wasting my time. I wanted to get something tangible, not here, come use my service. Or not to be rude about some people, but some people are out of the game 15, 20 years and they're a talker, not a doer. Whereas that kind of active, someone who's currently living it, walking it, it's someone who is talking the talk as well as walking the walk. And I think those are the type of people where you get something really, really interesting and tangible. Like, again, I've had a look at some of the speakers that you've had here, and I said it to you before we jumped in. Like, I met Oisin Hanrahan a couple of weeks ago. I was over in New York. I just love mentioning that because we had to go showcase. We had to go showcase my other thing over there. So I got to go to New York and feel pretty for the week. But we met Oisin over there, and holy crap. Like, if you've never seen this guy speak, you should absolutely go and listen to him. He's direct. He's honest. He'll tell you the battle wounds that he's got on the way. And, like, he's extremely successful, but he's not going to sit there and lie to you and go, yeah, it was all plain sailing. It was easy. Like, because the reality of this kind of stuff is if anybody's trying to make companies that can get to that scale where you're relevant and important to get on stage, it's hard work. So appreciate the honesty from these guys. Like,
and we actually have Oisin speaking. He will be speaking on day one of Dublin Tech Summit. So yeah, he's an amazing speaker.
Yeah, you have a bunch of amazing speakers. You have Bianca Zvart. I can't pronounce her name properly.
Yeah,
yeah, I will butcher surnames left, right, and center. But Bunk, they're a brilliant company. They're doing some amazing stuff over in fintech at the minute. You've got Jesus. There was Spirit Legal is another one. Fonzie is another one. I could list out 100 different people that are on that list. There's some really, really good speakers. So I guess I'd like to find out, like, when you've obviously explained the tracks. So then when we want to get these good people on, is there criteria that you're looking for when you're trying to get these kind of speakers on? Or I assume it's not just throw against the wall and see what sticks. I assume there's a plan here.
No, absolutely not. So I basically, you would start off with a lot of the research. You would then go into developing the tracks and the themes and things like that. And then I suppose the next step is exactly that, identifying these speakers. And for me, John, it's not just about obviously having a massive following, being well known. Yes, that does make a difference, because at the end of the day, it is important to have a certain amount of headlining speakers and recognizable people. But what's also important for the program this year in particular is looking at academia, looking at philosophers, looking at scientists and inventors, and these people that are always in the background that you actually don't know are the ones behind the magic, so to speak. So we're definitely incorporating a lot more of that into the program this year so that they can bring their valuable insight into it. But what I will say is, when selecting speakers and when looking at speakers, it's very much a relationship building piece for me. So it's dealing with various entertainment agencies. It's also dealing with these speakers on LinkedIn and developing these relationships that it gets to a point where we are talking like we're actually buddies or friends. And out of that, organically, that's where certain firesides and talks have just naturally, being curated from having these conversations with these speakers.
Yeah, I think as well, sorry, one of the things as well we do look at the program is there's an element of identifying certain potentially, like Siobhan mentioned the word friction earlier, or controversial topics or hot topics as well, and researching the speakers within those. So it's not always a speaker to a session. Sometimes it's the session gets developed out first, and then we recruit and research the speakers that will fit within that particular topic, and trying, if especially with panels or firesides, trying to get the balance on those talks with different opinions as well.
Yeah, because definitely one of the worst things you'll see about panels is when everybody's on the same page. It's like, yes, oh, this is wonderful, thank you. It's like, no, give us a bit of back and forth, because
no, you need where's the fight?
yeah, well, this is the thing. You need someone. It's not even like even over in this land, like myself and Martin have different opinions on certain things, and we'll butt heads on things, and that's fine, because that's what makes progress. Friction equals progress, and it's part of the reason that I do actually. We've always really enjoyed going to the Dublin Tech Summit, because you get, different opinions. You get to meet different people's different backgrounds, and like the speakers are a great pillar, of education and learning. But for me, the first thing that happens is you go through the door and you see your floor space, and you go, "Oh yeah, we're now at a tech event." And like, you've got some great partners. There's a bunch of great stalls that are out on the floor. Like, if anybody has ever seen the RDS, like it's a fine space. And like, I've seen like car simulators in there. We've seen the most random of things, like VR kits. Jesus, last year I was wearing a headset and I was playing slicing fruit and stuff like that, and then we went over it, and then there was another guy with a car simulator over in the corner. So like, yeah, in terms of like the partners, like, talk to me about the partners that we have on the floor this year, the different kind of companies that we're going to have showcasing, because I think we got the speakers. We know that there's great speakers. Go listen to them, they're brilliant people. But what's the experience like for someone hitting the floor?
Yeah, so I think partner wise, you'll see some of the same partners that you've seen before who are returning with us. GP, we've got Accenture this year, and then we're delighted to have Hurry from Northern Ireland, who are one of our top partners this year. So we're really excited to be working with them. Then we also have a number of startup stands then, which you mentioned earlier, which are in the back hall. And so, yeah, there'll be up to 50, 60 startup stands as well. So it's great to see the kind of the buzz on the startup side of things at the back as well. So yeah, we're just closing off. I think 90% of the floor is sold now. So just closing off the last few deals. And yeah,
I'm really excited about that. I got the email last night. I'm totally not on the newsletter, and I got the email last night. 90% of the floor space is gone. I was like, "Ooh, perfect timing," because I need to know who they are. Like, and for me, there's something about that energy. Like, because I remember, like, over in my other thing outside of here, my co-founder Jimmy came with me. It was the first one of these events he had went to, and I'm not gonna lie, the fellow was nervous going in the room. He was like, "This is out of my wheelhouse. I've never been to something like this. What do I do? How do I do it?" I was like, "Man, we're just going to go around and make friends. Like, this is going to be our day here. We're just going to go around, look at different stalls, see what interests us, and then we're going to go make friends that we're going to go drink with later on. It's going to be fine. It's going to be a great day." Walked in, and 5 minutes later, he was gone missing because he got distracted by one of the stands and was like, "I'll find you in a few minutes. I have to talk to this guy about whatever the hell it is he's doing." But he found instantly, I can't remember what it was. It was something to do with like data processing and stuff like that. And he was like, "I'm gone. I'll find you later." I was like, "See you in a while." Took less than 5 minutes for him to find, an area that he was interested in. I think that's really cool, because you've got obviously, like, geez, if I remember just trying to picture the floor last year, you had like an Enterprise Ireland stall. I'm obviously biased because I'm after.
So we'll have Enterprise Ireland will be joining us again. So we work very closely with them. SkillNet, the European Innovation Council, with EY. So I think the big thing is that there's kind of a big mix of companies across the board, from different sectors as well.
Yeah, no, I think it's really cool, because if you're into data, there's something there for you in data. If you're there for AI, there's something there for you. If you're like someone who's even in pre-startup mode and doesn't really know where to start, there's people like Enterprise Ireland, EY, that you can actually talk to and go, "Where do I start?" They'll present the options, like the NDRC, like the New Frontiers programs.
Yeah, and Leo will be there this year as well, doing a mentoring stand, because they obviously have a lot of funding and other support mechanisms as well for startups and new businesses and people trying to scale. So they're going to be there offering like mentoring, just to advise on their services and help people out. So you can just book in a meeting with them as well. There's also as well, like, not necessarily all companies may have physical presence on the floor, but there'll be companies that are there, and you can access networking via the app. And then there's physical meeting spaces that you can kind of pre-arrange your meetings, and then use the physical meeting space to take a table there and meet some
about this. So you have like a paired app. So like, talk to me about this. Like, right, I'm going to the event. I obviously want to do some homework in advance, right? Or am I just coming in going, I don't know what I'm doing or where I'm going?
To be honest, like, you're always, it's very hard to get people to get on board with apps before they come to events. Because people are just so busy, and a lot of people just will arrive at the door, and that's the first time that they've actually been like, okay, I'm here now what do I do? Whereas, yeah, you are definitely much better. Like, we will launch the app about 3 to 4 weeks before the event, so it's open then to start networking and booking meetings. And so, build out your profile on the app. You can link all your social media, your LinkedIn's, all of that, and then you can book your meetings physically in the meeting spaces, or you can meet, if you're meeting partners, you can arrange to meet them on their booth, or anything like that. But the app will also suggest people to you based off your interests. So we do gather people's areas of interest on the booking form.
Sure.
And so the app will filter off those areas of interest, and suggest people to you based off the areas of interest, but also the sessions that you've chosen on your agenda. So that if you've chosen kind of at least a match of 4 sessions or more the same, that person might be suggested to you then, as you share similar interests. So there's a lot of networking that can happen in advance, and get you more organized before you arrive.
I think that's really cool. Like, there's this, I will always recommend like doing some prep work before you go to the events, because basically go in, download the app. It's very handy to have, put in what talks you want to go to, because to be honest with you, when you're on the floor, there's so many things happening. You can get distracted by talking to people and going, oh yeah, I'll do this. But then you'll miss a talk that you really wanted to be at, and then you'll be bothered with yourself that you missed it. Because like, as Siobhan's mentioned, there's some fantastic speakers there. You're going to make sure on your planner going, all right, I want to go to this talk. I want to meet this person. I want to do this. You've got 2 days. You have to maximize the time here. It's high energy. There's a lot going on. So I would say download the app, do your prep work, know who and what, where, when, how you want to talk. I feel like I'm doing the hard sales pitch here, but just do the thing.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, building out your agenda before you come makes a huge difference to your experience, I think, rather than just landing in cold on day one and not knowing what's going on.
Yeah, then like the next area I want to look at is as you kind of mentioned, the startup piece. I think in Ireland right now we have this nuts culture for startups. I think we're probably one of Europe's, if not the world's, leading areas for startups over the last 2 to 3 years. The developments in AI, bootstrapping, like, we're seeing so many startups coming from the country, and obviously you're giving them a platform here to not just showcase, but to actually present. Talk to me about the startup program, the World Cup, all of everything about how someone like me goes, I have an idea that I was stupid enough to quit my job and commit to. Where do I go next?
So the startup program is really important to us. And so the startup program, from our point of view, is a give back to the tech sector. And so, we have a big area of floor plan dedicated to startup stands. And we try and keep them as cost effective as possible, including like free ticket contingencies and everything within that. Then the startups are included in the pitch competition. So the pitch competition runs over the 2 days, and you stand up kind of Dragon's Den style, give your pitch, and you're judged by, we have a big panel of judges, everything like VCs, investors, people from EI, everything like that on the judging panel. And then they're shortlisted and go through to a final. So the final takes place in the late afternoon of day 2. And the winner of that final actually goes through to the Startup World Cup, which takes place over in the States.
In Silicon Valley, yeah.
Yeah. And the
Lovely
prize,
part of the world.
so the prize for that is $1 million investment. So as well as our own kind of pitch competition and everything like that, it's actually a semi-final of the International Startup World Cup. I think one of the interesting things about the startup scene in Ireland, like you mentioned earlier, about how the growth is that, like, we did see a doubling in the number of startups joining us last year, which is a great sign, I think, economically. And yeah, there are a lot of supports there, and we work a lot on a stakeholder side with all the NDRCs. We give ticket discounts to all the NDRCs and complimentary ticket contingencies as well, to try and support people in the very early stages to come and be able to network and things like that. So, and we also work very closely with them on content planning. Yeah. So the Hustle and Thrive content stream is aimed at the startup sector, startup scale-ups. And so we would talk to people like DC, the team at Dogpatch, Mormo Bats, Tech Founder, we work very closely with as well. Yeah. And so we would liaise, and also actually Endeavour. And so when planning out the program content, like, there would be open discussions about priorities for programming, what are kind of big issues that are like taking place maybe for startups at the moment, what are startups telling you that they need, educationally wise or resource wise or anything like that. And we try and build those things into the program as well. So we do bounce ideas off stakeholders externally in particular areas when planning, to make sure we hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. Like I love this, because obviously, like, I'm very in the startup land right now with the NDRC, EI, and you can definitely see how the community is, very close knit. I think it's brilliant, because obviously, like, you're giving a space and a place where these guys, the high potential, the ones who are really, really good. I met 2 or 3 absolute cracking companies last year, but over the last nearly 10 years of being at the event, we've met some just brilliant companies. Like last year, we met James Flynn, Coso AI. They got to the semi-finals of the pitch competition. We met Ayla Raquel, who came on the podcast last year. Wow, first South American woman to put satellites into space. Like, wow, what a person to talk to. She blew my brains. I was just like, I don't know how these satellites work, but you do. So you tell me. I felt lost. But like, even down to like one of the first ones that we spoke to, 2017, 2018, and now you're seeing like their exits, and you can really see the progression from like year one to now, and you're watching the small companies that were then where they got their start was on the floor of your event, and now they're in a place where they're exiting and growing, and now they're the type of people who are coming back as speakers to the event, and that lovely circular ecosystem is just class to see for me. Like, mind-boggling. So like, I love the fact that I get to meet people who are way smarter than I'm ever going to be, who are doing bananas stuff. Like the 2 or 3 last year that really stood out, where there was Oscana trees. They were planting trees based on something I can't remember, but the concept was brilliant. The satellites, like that, Ayla sending satellites into space from Brazil, being the first place in South America to do that, I just thought was stunning. And to have them in a room in Dublin, traveling from Brazil. What's it? You have like, is it like nearly 70 plus countries that attend?
So there's a big kind of coverage of people coming from everywhere. I think it's actually a little bit more than 70. It's nearly at kind of heading towards 80. So brilliant international attendance. And I think that's one goal for us in growth, is to increase the international attendance of people coming in. And so this year actually we've been instrumental in coming together with other city stakeholders and tech community stakeholders to launch the first Dublin Tech Week.
Yes, talk to me about Dublin Tech Week. This is new. This is news.
Yeah, so Dublin Tech Week is taking place from the 23rd to the 30th of May. So it's a coming together of loads of different city stakeholders, tech groups, venues, everything, to put on a week of tech-related activity, exhibitions, entertainment, hackathons, meetups, conferences. The Tech Summit is going to be one of the events taking place during the week, and there's a Blockchain Ireland conference, an ETH Dublin conference. So there's loads going on. So it's dublintechweek.com. We'll have the full listing of events taking place, and it's being supported by Dublin City Council and Smart Dublin, who are also going to be launching a number of their initiatives that week. But one of the big kind of focuses, I suppose, for Dublin Tech Week is to encourage the large tech companies across the city to potentially invite international colleagues in, do staff meetups and things like that, but also then allowing for the wider networking and educational opportunity that will be available during that week. So the Tech Summit obviously is one of the events, and it's the largest event that week, but there's a huge range of activity. And so you can kind of go, okay, I'm interested in blockchain. These are the 7 things that are on across the week. So it's a really nice new initiative, I think, very beneficial for the city and for the sector. Kind of, I suppose, such a turbulent global time. Battening down the hatches and making kind of the networking and the collaboration and everything that something like this kind of week will bring is so important at the moment.
Yeah, I don't need to hear the word tariff again for the rest of my life. My God, I'm sick of it. But no, like Dublin Tech Week, it's a completely new thing. I'm really kind of excited about this because I think a lot of people, even within the country, don't understand how heavily influential we are in terms of like the technology sector. We've got, you know, the Dublin Docklands, which I like to call Silicon Paddy at times, because it's just all of the companies in the one block. Like, there's a reason why these companies come here, and it's not just the corporation tax, it's the education, it's the ability, it's the standards of the staff level that they can get here. And what I'm loving seeing is people who've worked for all these companies going, oh wait, I can do this because I'm doing it for this really big company. Now it's time for me to go and do something for me. And we're starting to create that culture of, if you have a really good idea, build it. And now being able to have a week in Dublin, if you said this 10 years ago, that we're going to have a week in the country where we're just going to have events on around technology and education, learning, people would have gone, you're absolutely mental. Like, it's class to see.
Yeah, I think it's part of like that kind of cementing in of the sector within our overall economy and our city, and like going, okay, let's not take this sector for granted. You know, we do need to continually work at it, whether it's like developing new startups or enhancing the community feel around the sector. And so the Tech Week, I think, is really important for that.
And I think just from that aspect of it, even going back to Dublin Tech Summit and us just wanting to bring in a more international audience into Dublin for that week, with the agenda and the program, we've significantly changed also the speaker balance and what that looks like. So we have a 70% international lineup of speakers, and then the balance of it is 30% local. But this was more of a deliberate shift to help us kind of break out of that Silicon Valley echo chamber, as they say, and bring fresh perspectives from emerging markets. So it's important to hear, obviously, what's happening in the US, but also stepping out of that US tech bubble, because a lot of people are finding that the most interesting solutions are coming from the emerging markets. Absolutely. So I think that was also a very important piece to bring into that this year, and also for those international speakers to see, again, what Claire was mentioning. Okay, great, I can speak at Dublin Tech Summit, but there's also all of these other events taking place, so they can really get immersed into the culture and the local feel over here for the entire week. And it's not just about the summits.
No, it's about so much more. Like, I've definitely seen it down the years. It's like, if you bring these great people to a city like Dublin that has so much potential, that I'm not going to talk about how sad Dublin City makes me at the moment, but we can get onto that another day. But like the city has so much potential. The country has so much potential. If you bring some of these emerging market companies, some of these brilliant people from other places, they can look at the place and go, okay, y'all got the talent, y'all got the ability, you've got infrastructure. Why don't we bring our company here and we can start diversifying? Because I agree, there's a heavy reliance on the American tech bubble. And obviously with recent news, that might not be sustainable long term. So we either have to get up and do it ourselves or have companies from other parts of the world that go, wait a second, there's something here. And yeah, I really like this. Another thing that Siobhan, this is probably a question for yourself. I always noticed there seemed to be like a very strong hand on the wheel in terms of diversification of speaker lineups. It's not just a bunch of middle-aged white dudes.
No. We really strive to find that balance, you know, and often I'll joke around about, okay, we've got a manel going on here. We've got to get 1 or 2 females on, but to be very honest with you, John, as much as we need to find that balance, what's very important to me is it's the person's experience, it's the person's background. It goes beyond that diversity piece, and whoever we bring in to fit into that talk, we're not just bringing them in purely because of their gender. It really has to fit in with that panel and with the other speakers. But I mean, even speaking about, you know, diversity and what's going on at the moment, and going back to the program, I mean, there's certain talks that I've developed or certain sessions where we're actually not shying away from the controversy or the difficult questions around DE&I, which is obviously one of the hottest topics going on at the moment. So there's a panel discussion with some very big industry heavy hitters that I've worked on called DE&I Catch-22, Business versus Belief. And they're actually all going to come onto the stage and have a debate around this, and whether DE&I is a fading trend or still just or a business necessity still. And I think having those unfiltered opposing views is what it's become one of tech's kind of most polarizing topics. So just going back to that, I think it's very important to be having these discussions, because again, looking at the research and looking at what other tech events and summits are doing, they're not actually discussing these very important topics that need to be addressed.
I fully agree with this. Like, you might find this interesting, because I definitely do. Like, I don't go out my way to interview male, female on this. I'm yet to, on this current run, on this series, I'm yet to interview a dude. So, and if that's not out of like choice or anything like that, it's just the companies that I've been coming across that are really interesting to talk to have all been female driven. So a couple of weeks ago, we had Simply Probate. They're changing probate for lawyers. We had the Shane Collective, which is an LGBTQ plus kind of travel type app where people can like leave reviews for whether they're safe and stuff, going to different parts. We're hopefully talking to Heidi Davis in the next couple of weeks about Identify Her and menopause tech, which is going to be a completely new topic for me, because like, look at me, it's not something I'm going to ever have a clue about. You know, and then there's a few others that we have in the pipeline, but it's not actually been a choice. It's just been okay, these are people doing really cool stuff and I want to talk to them. So I'm just going to say, guys, get the finger out. Y'all are if you're making something cool, I need to start hearing about it, because it seems like the women have cornered the tech space, and we're all screwed, because just the work that's being done is nuts. So like, I really like the fact that it is, and as you said, these are topics that need to be talked about, because we seem to be in this world right now where the loudest voice wins, and I hate it. But the reality is, good people do good things, and it doesn't really matter gender, race, sexuality, da 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 da.
Absolutely.
So, I don't know. It stresses me. I think we're kind of gone through a lot of the stuff that we'd want to talk about. We've great speakers. We have a floor that's full of cool stuff. We've got startups and a competition. We've got people from all around the world coming. We've got a tech week. This is going to be a really cool event. Is there stuff here that you feel we need to talk about that we haven't? Because I feel like there's definitely stuff going on in the background that we should know about that I haven't asked about yet.
Well, I think from my side, sorry, Claire, I didn't mean to. Yeah, we've covered the speakers, but you know, would love to mention some of the key kind of headline speakers that I think are quite interesting, because again, and John, you were talking about this whole diversity piece, and we really strived to bring together voices from technology, arts, business, academia, like I mentioned before. And I think for 2025, that's really been achieved. So I'm particularly excited about Stuart Copeland, the founder and drummer of The Police. So he's going to be delivering a very, very sexy fireside on day 2 on the main stage, talking about how technology is actually redefining art and how tech is blurring the lines between sound, storytelling, and digital experience. We have Sarah Fryer, the CFO of OpenAI, which is a big one for us. And she's going to be bringing a lot of crucial insights into just how AI is reshaping the industry. And I think the other 2 really worth noting is Grace Beverly. I mean, she's just phenomenal. And she's going to be delivering a fresh perspective on how to redefine work-life balance, creativity, leadership, and how to kind of juggle all of these balls. And the last one I think worth mentioning is Krista Kim. I met her in Dubai a couple of months ago, and she's quite a phenomenal woman. She is the World Economic Forum cultural leader. She's a world-renowned digital artist. She's just completed doing a piece of art in the Sphere in Las Vegas. And she is also the metaverse editor for Vogue Singapore magazine. So
right.
It's next level. Like you just, so she's going to be delivering some really groundbreaking insights on proof of personhood. And she's going to be looking at what remains or what it takes to make us uniquely human in this world full of technology, which is quite an interesting angle to go with. So yeah, just wanted to kind of give my top talks or suggestions across the 2 days that I think would be definitely, something that's you wouldn't want to miss.
Yeah, no, they're 4 really cool speakers. I'm going to say my pick is David Rieger, Neurorobotics. I'm very excited about that one. That's definitely one I'm going to be first in the queue to get into, because the robotics space just blows my mind. One of my mates actually is working with Dell, and he goes and does the schools program where he goes into the transition years and they make their little battle bots and stuff like that. And I'm like, holy crap, if 15, 16-year-olds are making this, I want to see what the big boys can got under the hood. Claire, anything from yourself that you feel that we should talk about, mention about the Dublin Tech Summit that we haven't?
No, I suppose like just from working on the program with Siobhan and some of the topics, like I'm kind of interested in, I like the controversial ones about like how we're powering our data centers, geopolitics. Like, so I suppose we're not shying away from certain topics here either. So you're going to see things like that in the program as well. So it's got a nice kind of mix. I'm
actually really excited about this year's one. Like, I'm excited about it every year, but like just having looked at the website, having spoken to a few guys in the background like Donald and stuff like that about even the startup space and what's happening here, there, and everywhere. There's so much happening. And I didn't know, to be honest with you, this morning, I didn't know about this Dublin Tech Week. I really should have. I think that is a major pillar of this, that we're going to have this huge Irish event in the heart of Dublin that has progressed massively from the conference centre to the RDS in the heart of a technology focus week. I just think that there's so much potential here for Dublin to have a really fun week with really cool people. Right. So the obvious question that we have to ask is tickets, where they get them, how they get them, and how do people show up to the event?
Yeah, so tickets are on our website. So if you want to sign up to our newsletter, which is on the website, you might get some sneaky special offers. But also we would love to share a special offer with your listeners. So we'll send that on to you. But it's €100 off tickets if you use the code 100TIX on the booking form.
100TIX. Let me make sure I put that down for later.
And yeah, so we I suppose the big thing about tickets for us as well is accessibility of pricing.
Yeah.
And so we've tried to keep our ticket prices steady for the past 3 years, and not been increasing them. So we're also extremely good value compared to other European tech events. And again, that's about making the event accessible to people to come to get the best out of networking on the floor.
Yeah, I fully agree there. I've seen events like the World Mobile Congress and stuff like that where I've seen the price go up and gone, oh, thank God I get a media pass, because otherwise I'm not mortgaging the gaff to be there. Like, I guess I'll do the big sales pitch piece. It's like the tickets are a great price, right? If you get on the wait list, you will get emails with early bird offers and stuff like that for next year. If you're the type of business that's looking for floor space, again, get on the newsletter and waiting list. There will be early access to floor space. Same with startups, same with everybody else. But like, this event now is in like 5 weeks' time. So if you haven't already get a ticket, absolutely do. We will get that link to with the discount code in the bio of both the podcast on Spotify, YouTube. We'll put it out in the post on LinkedIn and everywhere else. But like, for anybody who has been humming and hamming and thinking, I don't know if tech events for me, do the thing. And despite all the headliners that are there, the most important person that's going to be there is obviously this guy right here. I'll be dancing around the floor like a caffeinated monkey, going saying hello to everybody. So, if there isn't anybody that you want to see me. No, just do the thing, get the tickets. Like, it's going to be a really great week, and there's some amazing stuff that goes on both inside the event space and the outside the event space. Should I tell you this story before we go? I will. This might get me in trouble. So last year I brought up Jimmy, and you obviously had the event in Cafe and Sen after in the evening. Wow, what a space, by the way. So we're in there, and this is small world stuff. So one of the girls who works for Cafe and Sen, met her about a month later at my best friend's wedding. She was like, how the hell are you here? I was like, that's my mate, next door neighbor growing up the last 20 years. Why the hell are you here? She was like, the girl he's marrying is my cousin. I was like, oh my God. So we spent the night basically up in Cafe and Sen, chatting away, organizing how to take over the world and stuff like this. And a month later, it was like, why the hell are you at my best mate's wedding? So it shows just how, if they hear that story, it's going to be like, yeah, let's not talk about the drinks that were had. But anyway, that's a story for another day. I think there's these beautiful networking pieces. So yeah, if anybody wants to find out more about the Dublin Tech Summit, reach out to you. Hit me. Where do they find you?
Yeah, Dublin Tech Summit.tech. Or you can look us up on social media. We're on all the big platforms, Insta, X, LinkedIn. And we also actually have a great back catalogue of sessions on our YouTube channel. And we've been running free webinars this year as well. So we have our back content of sessions from the past 2 years, plus a range of new webinars that have been coming out over the past few months. So they're all accessible on YouTube as well for free.
Cool. Do you want anything from yourself to add in terms of last thoughts?
Well, I think from my side, crossing fingers, we're going to be launching the agenda, I'd say, in the next 3 weeks, which is going to be great. But if you're coming, I would say as the audience, as the attendee, expect intensity, expect curiosity, and expect maybe a little bit of chaos, but it's all good and well. I think this is going to be one of our best years yet in terms of content delivery, networking. So definitely an event that you don't want to miss.
John, that's the hook. That's the hook in itself. I don't need to do anything else here. From our side, look, we're available on all of the social media channels apart from the artist formerly known as Twitter. We're not there. They're bad people. We don't go there anymore. But we're on everybody else. Goosed.ie, Goosed.ie. Podcast is available always on the YouTube. It's on Spotify, both video and audio, because we're bougie like that over here. And apart from that, it's been absolutely wonderful to talk to the two of you today. If I wasn't excited beforehand about being there, I'm absolutely buzzed now. So yeah, 6 weeks out? I will see you there. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you for having us.
Really appreciate it. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
And to everybody listening, good night, good morning, goodbye, good day, good luck. I don't know, whenever the hell you're listening.